In this series, we will take a closer look at specific gameplay features and dive deeper into Middle-earth's Shadow of Mordor. We begin with a focus on Talion's weapons and the rune upgrade system. Runes add powerful buffs to Talion's weapons and are dropped as loot when enemy captains are vanquished. Exploiting the weaknesses of an enemy will influence the type of runes that drop, and combining different runes will increase the power of Talion's weapons in different ways. Epic runes are rare and powerful upgrades that can make Talion's weapons even more legendary. Crafting epic runes to his sword Urfael, his bow Askar, and his dagger Akarn will make them known and feared by every beast and enemy in Mordor. Finding an epic rune requires Talion to dominate a captain and have him deliver a death threat to his war chief. Hearing that Talion is after him and is promising a cruel death, the war chief surrounds himself with bodyguards for protection.
You want to fight? All you've got to do is ask.
Defeating the war chief and his gang is no easy task, but the reward is great. With the death threat fulfilled, the war chief drops an epic rune. This particular epic rune adds a powerful blast of fire arrows, and is only one example in a wide range of unique weapon upgrades. Through a variety of customizable rune combinations and his weapons, Talion will become a legend and brandish an arsenal without equal in all of Mordor.
What is this place? Am I dead?
Father, look at me. I'm right here, son. I'm right here.
How is this possible?
You are banished from death. You're with me.
We will be together, my love. Soon. Forever.
We will be together again soon, my love. What has happened to me?
The curse has bound us together.
And how do we break it?
We find the one who cast it on us.
I had a family once. A wife. And a son. And I buried them along with everyone I ever knew.
Middle-earth's Shadow of Mordor, you are Talion, a ranger of Gondor and a guardian of the Black Gates, until the night Sauron and his black captains return to Mordor, killing everyone you've ever loved and leaving you for dead. This walkthrough takes place several hours into the game and focuses on the Nemesis system, a next-gen living world which creates unique personal enemies on every playthrough. In this instance, Talion's mission is to kill the Uruk war chief Orthog, and in order to get to him, Talion is going to hunt down one of his henchmen, an Uruk captain called Ratbag, who Talion has tracked to this village. Like every enemy you face in the Nemesis system, Ratbag and Orthog are completely unique to this gameplay instance. There are no generic canned enemies. Within this dynamic living world, every interaction between Talion and his enemies has a direct effect on Uruk society. Ratbag has already met Talion and survived, and his unique personality has evolved to shape this gameplay encounter. He's now been promoted to a new job as a slaver, which is why we can find him in this village persecuting the humans below. Talion's quest for vengeance is aided by a mysterious undying spirit, a wraith. This wraith transforms Talion and gives him the power to pursue his enemies into Mordor, and it enables him to move between the physical world and the wraith world. the world we see when Bilbo and Frodo put on the One Ring. In the Wraith world, Talion can identify his enemies, such as Ratbag, and return to the real world to confront them.
Grave Walker!
You left my master to burn, so I'm gonna cut you slow and savor every twitch.
Memory is an important feature of the Nemesis system. And Ratbag is never going to forget that he only just survived his last fight with Talion. This unique combination of personality and history will make him distinct from every other enemy Talion meets. Ratbag is a coward at heart, and he's going to run as soon as the odds turn against him.
Master, help me!
Again, Talion can put his Wraith powers to use. One of the key powers of a Wraith is the ability to dominate your enemies through terror and bend them to your will.
You will obey!
Now Ratbag is Talion's minion. He can be ordered to spy and feed back information, to spread terror by carrying the message of what he's witnessed here to build Talion's legend among Sauron's forces, or to be sent on a mission to assassinate his leader. Each choice creates a unique mission in the open world of Mordor. By entering Ratbag's mind, Talion can see his relationship with the other Uruk leaders, as well as their unique characteristics and abilities. Ratbag's master and the war chief in this area is Orthog, who has also had a previous encounter with Talion. In his case, a battle which left him severely scarred on the face. Orthog is very different to Ratbag. He's extremely tough and has many followers. Ratbag has almost no chance of killing him. But by creating an assassination mission, Talion gains the opportunity to follow Ratbag and finish off his enemy himself. In the open world, Talion can begin the mission at any time. But this walkthrough will fast forward to the assassination attempt. Playing as Talion opens up a world of creative choice about how to approach every mission. In this case, the cover of night and the rain creates a range of opportunities. Use bait to draw in trolls and Caragors to create a distraction. Take a direct combat approach. Or use a stealth approach to infiltrate and get as close to Talion's target as possible. Again, Talion moves into the Wraith world to identify Orthog, who's called this meeting. Ratbag, who's behind Orthog, can be recognized by the blue hand, indicating he is Talion's minion. We can also see Ratbag's supporters, who can be recognized by white hands. Since Talion now dominates Ratbag, he also controls his followers, allowing Talion to build his forces behind enemy lines.
And the power of our Lord.
For additional fire support, Talion's going to dominate this archer.
Soon
Each follower can be triggered individually as part of a more tactical approach, or all at once, to cause infighting and chaos.
Will obey.
A distraction, so Talion can finish off what Ratbag starts.
we're going to kill! He's betrayed us! We could deal with a great
Ratbag's attack severely damages Orthog, and although he has survived, Talion now has a major advantage going into battle.
That shuts you up.
You left me to burn! I'm gonna make you pay for that!
Through the Nemesis system, Orthog remembers his previous encounter with Talion, making this battle both unique and personal.
You burn my face, but I will burn your corpse!
Let them carry word back to Sauron. When he comes for us, our pawns will be in place, and all Mordor will burn.
Peggy 18.
Lady Marwen.
Why have you returned?
What have you seen in your visions?
Very soon, the Dark Lord and his army will march all over Mordor. But a great power can be awakened to prevent it.
Can the curse be broken?
Destroy the Black Hand.
How?
Your power begets followers, willing or otherwise. Find an orc leader, make him a war chief, and all his soldiers will be yours.
An orc army. You haven't told me what you want in return.
Only that you learn what you are truly capable of.
Where am I to lead this army of mine?
I will show you.
Peggy 18.
We continue our gameplay feature series by exploring Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system. The Nemesis system creates personal interactions with your unique enemies. Every enemy will remember their encounters with you.
Killed you? Now you're back? Just my rotten luck.
A coward could try to flee to fight another day,
I'm not staying around for this. Another day!
or a loyal captain could defend their master to the death.
You want my master? You gotta come through me. You ain't coming through me.
A warrior that strikes a death blow against Talion will gloat in a future encounter.
Is this some kind of joke? I killed you already.
Every reaction is informed by a combination of unique personality traits and past interactions, evolving the world around you in surprising ways.
So you move or I'll miss. I hate that.
Using the power of the Wraith, you may choose how to disrupt Sauron's war machine by creating power struggles within Orc society. Grow the power of your forces by helping them successfully complete missions. Or bring down Sauron's army from within by commanding your enemies to battle one another. Duels, beast hunts, feasts.
Time to feast!
The Nemesis system creates a living, breathing, dynamic orc society within Mordor, enabling every player to create their own unique villains and stories, and ensuring no two playthroughs are ever the same. As you kill, dominate, and terrify your way through the ranks of Sauron's forces, you can ultimately build your own powerful army, challenging the Dark Lord and bending Mordor to your will.
Hey, the movies are ruined.
Good. So he's come back, and you play Talon, a ranger of Gondor who was stationed at the Black Gate on the frontiers of Mordor when Sauron returned.
Which is safe. It's a safe area. There's no harm will befall him, right?
It has been safe for about 2,000 years.
Okay.
On the night Sauron comes home, all of that changes.
Okay.
The Rangers are slaughtered, Talion's family is killed, indeed he dies, but Sauron's return also awakens an ancient spirit of vengeance. And that's something we're really excited to get more into the lore, because this spirit has a very close relationship with Sauron and with the history of Middle-earth.
Okay, and that's a secret.
The identity of the Wraith is a secret.
Don't tell us.
It's going to be awesome. No more spoilers.
Yeah,
But this spirit resurrects Talion, and then together they pursue the Dark Lord behind enemy lines.
Okay.
And that's where we find ourselves here.
You'd be expecting from, you'd expect the barren, the deserted, the dark, but
this is, Sauron has to feed these vast armies he's going to build. So slaves are going to till these fields. They're going to farm these fields, fish these seas, and this is how he's going to sustain his forces. So that makes it the perfect place to get behind enemy lines and really disrupt his plans for building his army. And actually, this is something else we're showing you here as well. Big part of our game, because of the power of the Wraith, you can dominate, bend your enemies to your will, use fear against them, but you can also dominate the beasts of Mordor. So this guy's a Graug. It's one of the alpha predators of Mordor, sort of massive monster, eats trolls for breakfast. So Mordor
literally eats them?
Literally eats trolls for breakfast. And so he's one of these beasts that you're able to bend to your will and really take the fight to your enemies as you build your army behind enemy lines.
Awesome. And the control, the domination that Talion asserts over the Mordor forces, I mean, that plays a central role in everything, not only narrative, but also in gameplay, also in strategy, right? I mean, there's a bit of a mind game behind, like, who you're taking over and how you get to Sauron.
Yep. So the Wraith, as I say, is a very powerful figure, and in some ways, their plan, their goal is similar to Saruman's. The way to take on Sauron is to beat him at his own game, is to build an army of Uruk-hai and to actually challenge the Dark Lord directly by doing that. So the Wraith sort of has something in common there.
Okay.
And in the same way, you've been drawn into the Sea of Nirn by this new character we're introducing, Queen Marwen. She's the leader of the remnants of the Gondorians' forces that settled there millennia before, and she holds the key to revealing some of the secrets of the power of the Wraith, but also increasing that power so you really can do so much more than just hunting and killing your enemies. You can actually bend them to your will, build your own army behind enemy lines.
Cool. I mean, there's some stealth elements to this game as well. It's not just all about upfront action, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we put a lot into. It's a real focus. We wanted to make kind of a next-gen living world, like a very dynamic ecosystem. So these monsters running around are part of that, but it also feeds into our core gameplay. So we've got our melee combat, but it bleeds really seamlessly into stealth. So you can enter a fight out of stealth, do a brutal stealth kill that ups your hit counter, lets you lead straight into a combo attack, which leads into range, which lets you leap on one of these monsters and flee out of it. So just constantly able to be surprised, and new things can happen, things you haven't seen before. And of course that then works with the Nemesis system, because the enemies themselves get surprised by what's happening and react to these surprises in the environment. So really want to make a world where players create their own stories, but secondly, where it is a living world. So that means by changing things, by crafting your own enemies, by making your own stories, that really can ripple out and influence the world.
I feel like you've talked about this a lot. You know the game well.
I have, spent a lot of time thinking, and as a team, you know, we've really, from the beginning of this game, we knew that we wanted to do something different, something people hadn't done before, and enemies seemed like such a place to innovate and bring something new. Because so often, you know, so much of what you do in an action game is confront and face these enemies.
Yeah.
And so we didn't want the grunts to be cannon fodder, and we didn't want the bosses just to be someone we planted in the game. We wanted really to let people create their own experience.
And so do you want to actually give our audience like a little bit of an insight?
Actively hunting each other, challenging each other, proving themselves, competing for dominance. So, you know, like we see at Tirithungal in Lord of the Rings when they get into Mordor, it's an incredibly brutal and competitive society. So these guys fight and battle and strive
amidst
their way up against themselves and against you. And as they level up, they get new powers, they get personality traits. You know, if you burn a guy, he could get a burning hatred against that, or he could become terrified. So their personalities adapt, the jobs they have adapt, their relationships to each other. So it's just this hugely dynamic system that kind of makes it into a social network, I guess, that you can get in and mess with.
So this is like the Twitter or Facebook of Mordor. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's
confirmed here on stage.
Yeah.
What's it like working with literature and with lore that is just iconic throughout the entire world and really one of the, you know, grandfathers of fantasy? I mean, what's that like for the team?
It's a huge privilege and a huge responsibility. And also it's incredibly, it's stressful, but we're also massive fans as well, so it's exciting. The thing with Tolkien and Middle-earth, it's almost like working with history or myth. You know, the depth and the attention to detail makes the world so rich, so detailed. There's so many stories you could tell that you kind of get the best of both worlds. You can draw on all this amazing canon, all this amazing lore, use that to make it feel very detailed, make it feel very real, but it's also big enough that you can tell a standalone story as well. You don't just have to retell what people have seen before, or, you know, we don't have to tell a side story. We can create and craft a really epic standalone story.
And I like that you guys have kind of embraced the challenge of telling your own story. I mean, obviously you have a framework to work with and a lot of lore to tap into. But I mean, Talion was created for this game, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's very, very authentic to, I think, the themes and the lore of Tolkien. Like, you know, to be honest, very much a starting point of inspiration was Boromir. Was that Boromir, the Council of Elrond, and he had the ring, and he was like, this is a gift. We should use the power of the enemy against him. The only way to take on the Dark Lord is through ruthlessness. And Boromir's a tragic character, but he's also ultimately a heroic character. He's someone who was willing to do whatever it takes for what he believes was the right thing. And those themes of using power and where that's going to lead, that was something we're really interested to explore, but taking a character who was also original within those themes. And I think where Talion's maybe a bit different from Boromir and Aragorn is he's not someone noble. He's not highborn, he's not in line to the throne. He really was, you know, someone who was just trying to build his life on the frontiers of the kingdom, who's then been drawn into these huge events. So I guess in that way he's a little bit like Sam or Frodo. So he's kind of a
I like how you just made up your mind there. You're like,
just that connection that he really is like this everyman who just wanted to live his life and gets sucked into these vast forces beyond his control.
Awesome. So I'm sorry, we've kind of been ignoring the footage a little. I just like talking about Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Can you tell us about this environment and what Talion is up to right here?
So where we are here, as far as I can tell, because I haven't been looking at either. So
Surprise!
This is a stronghold. The strongholds are the fortresses, the cities, the towns. These places are really dangerous because these are where there's going to be concentrated groups of enemy bosses. So there's Rukdug the Thirsty.
He's thirsty.
He's thirsty. From the sound of his showdown, he has a bit of a taste for the orc grog.
Okay.
And so we can see, this is an example, there's a mass of these guys, these named enemies living here. So we can spread a bit more chaos. Jessica's unleashing some of the Caragors. Okay, so the environment and there's a lot of different ways that can obviously play out. But then, however these guys survive, so if he gets enraged because he's seen the Caragor, manages to take you down, he's going to remember that, be more powerful next time. The guy who flees and runs, he's still going to live to fight another day. He's going to remember that and call it out as well. So, you know, you're really the, I guess, the rock that's getting dropped into the pond where the sort of ripples are really going out and shaping how this place is going to evolve.
How does the team keep track of so much? Like, how do they keep track of so much information? I mean, I feel like all these characters are being uniquely affected in different ways at different times, and then as you say, they might go on and fight another day. One might run and get eaten by a giant monster. I mean, how do you approach, like, kind of keeping track of all that and cataloging all that? I mean, that's all kind of dynamic information.
It's dynamic,
it's huge.
And it is huge, and it was kind of probably insanely ambitious, and I don't know if we would have taken it on if we knew how insane it was at the start. But I think the interesting thing is creating the systems was one thing, and you know, everyone did an amazing job on building those foundations. But what the systems give you is just randomness, and that can be cool or not. What was really amazing is the process of editing, getting the writing in, getting the specific roles, getting the actual showdowns, you know, mapping the traits. So although it's dynamic, it's not just totally random. We really are crafting guys who actually are characters, who have personalities, who have memories, who are kind of memorable. And so that kind of second half of the process of refining and editing and testing, that was where the kind of magic came out, I guess. That, awesome. You know, we're really, really proud of it, to be honest.
Fantastic. Well, as you should be. Because that sounds like just 4,000 Excel documents with tons of orc names in it. Now, that would freak me out.
And live to fight another day from that previous battle. He lives and grows as a result. The Darky grows. So these guys actually, through going on missions, they're challenging each other, slaughtering each other, leveling up, getting new strengths and weaknesses, and also taking on jobs as bodyguards. But if you invest the time, gather the intel, learn their strengths and weaknesses, there's always a way to take them down as well. So, you know, it's really important to support that sort of different spectrum of how people want to be able to play as well.
So it sounds like your design team kind of enabled a lot of different types of players to play this game. I mean, it's not really for one specific type of action or RPG fan. I mean, it kind of can be molded into a way that they want to play.
Yeah, and that's the spectrum. And again, you know, that's a lot of just usability testing and a huge amount of feedback. But I think, you know, really at heart, we're an action game, so we really wanted to support that as the core pillar.
Of course.
We wanted to have it be challenging as well, because it's only meaningful to take down these nemesis enemies if they can be very powerful. So we needed to make them hard, but then we also wanted to reward people for, you know, gathering the information and playing and planning as well. So it really does, you know, support that spectrum of different ways people want to play.
You want to talk about some of the combat system that we have?
Oh yeah, so this is great. So this guy, he's a nemesis enemy, named enemy. He's been weakened. As a result, the wraith powers that you have let Jessica grab him, dominate, bend into her will, and then we have a whole bunch of choices.
Okay.
We can send death threats, so we can actually let him live. He can go and dust to one of the war chiefs and create, so that will actually create a new mission within the open world. So it's almost a mission editor, but embedded into the gameplay and through the game systems, rather than kind of separated as a separate application.
How would you say, what's the balance like between sort of the supernatural element that Talion has, and then kind of the more physical element, the human element that he has? And in terms of combat, how did you guys balance that out?
I think one of the things that's kind of worked out really nicely in the game, the early game, when you start, so Wraith doesn't even know its own identity yet. Then I think it starts out as a more purely physical game, more purely physical action game. And then you've been playing that for a long while, and then we meet Queen Mao, and we get introduced to the fact that we have so much more power at our disposal to bend these enemies to our will. And it's almost like the second half of the game almost feels like the sequel to the first half, because you've had this kind of awesome action game, and then it really changes up a lot, and we open up a whole, you know, new spectrum of strategic opportunities and powers, and sort of grow that as well. So
awesome. Well, I think we're almost out of time.